living La Vida low carb. This show is changing lives. We talking about your diet, trying to get you feeling right. Cut up them avocados, fry some eggs, time to explore the longest running health podcast, hosted by Jimmy Moore. Time to give up the crappy garbage. We're getting into ketosis. Every day is a new step to your goal. Yeah, you're getting closer, motivated and focused. Don't stop, just go. Time to get inspiration from the Living La Vida Low Carb Show. Hey, the livinglowcarbshow.com.
This right here is Denise Davis, and it's Keep Austin Keto with a couple of dots in there, right? And that your username, right?
Right.
You live in Austin, Texas, is that?
I do.
Yeah. Deep in the heart of Texas. So, I love Austin, Texas, and the barbecue joints. Like, how can you not be keto and carnivore in Austin, Texas? Like, it's pretty easy.
I know. Matter of fact, I had sausage for dinner last night, so it was great. Jalapeno cheddar, nonetheless.
Yes. So when I go to an event in Austin, I always have to go get some brisket or something. Yeah, yes, my home away from home, Austin, Texas. But Denise is here today, you guys. I put out that call several months ago now. Who wants to come on the show? And you reached out to me initially, and then you said, on second thought, no. And I was like, well, that was kind of weird. But then you recently wrote me back, okay, I think I'm ready. And when you guys hear why she was reticent, it's going to resonate so much. And thank you for your bravery here today, Denise. It's not easy to talk about that. It's not this perfect journey. And I talk about this quite a bit in my own work of, well, people expect you go on keto, you go on carnivore, and everything's just peachy keen. Everything falls into line. You lose the weight effortlessly. Your markers come into order, and yeah, that's bullshit.
Mm-hmm. And you've arrived. You don't ever arrive. It's a journey. You stay on the journey for the rest of your life.
Yeah, so it's something that I'm glad that you're articulating, and I'm the perfect person to talk to about that because I have my own issues in this area. Not that I feel like I've been up and down with keto. I stay pretty consistent with it, but that the results might sometimes take a little more effort for some of us. So why don't you tell us your journey, because you have had success eating keto, and so tell us about that. What happened?
Well, I kind of want to go back to like where I got started at. So I actually got started on the Atkins diet, which was funny. That's a funny story to tell, and I haven't really ever shared it with anybody. I lived in Pennsylvania for a year, and I was working at a diner, and I met this girl who was talking about the Atkins diet and how she had lost 25 pounds. But she told me I had to give up bread. So that was funny. I didn't want to give up bread, but I was curious. And so the day that I really became curious, I'd gone to the grocery store, and in Pennsylvania, like most grocery stores, you have a hot foods bar, right? So I'd gone to the store and I bought me a meal at the hot foods bar. Imagine it's all carbs. It was like fried chicken, mashed potatoes, corn, gravy, all that good stuff. Bread, of course. But I also checked out my first copy of the Atkins diet, and I took it home, and I was eating this meal while reading it, saying, I'm probably never going to give up bread. This is never going to be for me. And that was kind of my first experience with a diet. I hate that word, but that's what they call it, the Atkins diet. And so I think it was the next week that I started that, and I dropped some weight fairly quickly. And I was happy about that. And when I came back to Texas, I went straight back to chips, to tortilla chips and hot sauce. And it wasn't until 2016 that I discovered keto. So it was some time after that. And during that time, the weight that I'd gained back while eating tortilla chips, I dropped a bit of weight on the keto diet. But I went to work in catering, and that's where I started getting in trouble. That kind of became like this yo-yo way of eating. And I would go keto 2 or 3 days, and then I would be eating catering for a couple of days. So that's kind of where things started getting out of whack for me in the beginning, because I couldn't, like, I'd committed to this community that we're in, that I'm doing this thing with everyone, but I wasn't. I was like deep in the throes of the other side of it. You know, I wasn't following that way of eating. So it was difficult for me to figure out how I was going to dig myself out of that hole. So,
yeah. And look, psychologically, that's difficult. Like 17 years ago, I started living La Vida low carb. So I almost married myself to low carb at that point of, okay, I'm going to be representing low carb. And so, and a lot of people over the years have seen my ups and downs, and they go, well, maybe low carb's not the answer, but you can't give it up because you've got a business tied to it and you would never give it up now. And I was like, no, I would give it up if it wasn't working. The thing that was kind of funny to me was the assumption was because you had more weight come back on the body, they just assumed you were unhealthy. Now, people who do gain back weight most of the time do have health markers that kind of follow that same track, but it's not always axiomatic. So even sometimes when you were doing good and staying on that the keto part of your journey, you probably were having good markers, but you weren't looking the part, and so people were judging you anyway. This goes so deep psychologically about why it's hard for you to stay on it once you're on it, and then people judge, and it's hard not to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Did you run into some of that? Did you run into some of that?
I did, and that's kind of what buried me is just like not looking the part anymore, and having people send me messages on Instagram and my private messages just saying things like, it's funny you can't outrun a bad diet. And I'm like, yeah, I know I can't outrun a bad diet, but there's things going on. And some of that was, some mental stuff, some personal things going on in my life that was the other part of me gaining some of that weight back, because I wasn't admitting that I had a problem eating, not even just what I was eating, but how much I was eating.
Well, and I would probably argue, I don't know your story of the story behind the story, Denise, but I would argue that people that have things that are unresolved in their life, either kind of past traumas or other experiences from the past that never quite got resolved, that will play havoc on your hunger and your ability to lose fat. Your body is so much in like a survival mode. This is something I try to explain it to people, and they're like, no, you just eat too much, you fat ass. And it's like, okay, that doesn't help. Let's just talk about how there are other issues at play besides the food. So yes, you kept going back to those foods, but I want to know, why did you go back to those foods? Did you need the comfort? Did you, was there something else going on?
So in the beginning, so related to the catering stuff, it was, I needed to try the food because I needed to be able to tell people what it tastes like. I have a job to do. So there was some of that. There was also lots of food left over, and hey, you can take home all this food kind of thing. And so there was that. Yeah. So there was that. And I had to sorry.
No, you had to what?
Oh, I'm moving through a little fast in the story, but right now I'm doing something totally different. Like, I'm back to work and things are changing. And so I've moved into fasting now. Like, I don't even mess with the food. I've moved into fasting at work. I don't taste the food. I don't think twice about the food. That's over.
Yeah. And I mean, you get to that point after a period of time, and, I can see where people get so excited. They start keto and they're like, yeah, shit, no, I want the food. I want the bread. I want the sweets. Like, I remember going on the Atkins side, I was that way, that I was such a sugar addict. I was having like whole boxes of Little Debbie snack cakes and fast food, and going to 7-Eleven, get the double gulp and just all the things. And it's like, suddenly, boom, all that went away. I'm eating good, delicious food, just not carby ones anymore. But there would be those little moments of, I just want something sweet. And it was before Maria Emmerich was out there with her cookbooks. Maria would have saved me had I been, had her recipes early on. But now people do have those. Do you try to make anything like that, where it's like alternatives, things that you do like Maria, for example, has a great like Wonder Bread recipe?
I did. That was the other problem. So, along that journey, it went from, the regular stuff that we eat to the keto items, but that's still problematic for me. That's the thing. It's like, for a long time, I thought I was one of those ones that could have all the keto foods, you know, the things that we're swapping for this, that, and the other. But that became a problem too, because there was so many of those, whether I made it myself or bought it, it was too much for my system to handle. And I wasn't losing weight that way. I wasn't staying at a certain size anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and most of those are probably saboteurs, and most certainly here in 2021, anything that has keto on it, you better give it a little side eye, because you just don't know these days, because everybody and their mama throws keto on stuff that it most certainly is not keto. But you're right. It's one reason, and I know you're doing an experiment right now for this month, but it's one reason I moved over to mostly carnivore. I did this about 3.5 years ago. Decided to eat animal-based foods for the most part. I'm not anal retentive about it. I'll have avocado every once in a while with it, and other things. And then if I want something every once in a while, okay, I'm not going to be crazy about it, but I can have those things on occasion. And so you did switch to kind of more of a carnivore diet, at least as a temporary means that you're doing right now. How is that going? Does it feel better? Do you kind of feel like it keeps you away from those treats?
It does actually. So, you know, once I got back on keto, it was probably about March of this year, after we got through everything that was going on in the world. And I was only having stevia in my electrolytes, because I use the Redmond electrolytes, which I love. But since I've been doing the carnivore stuff, it's been hard, because the unflavored is not appealing to me in any way. So I'll add like a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of lime juice, and it works out fine.
Yes.
It's great. So the carnivore part's been pretty easy. I think I'm probably going to lean more that direction as time goes on. It's just, it's too easy to buy some protein, to cook it, to have it available to you, add some fats in, you're good to go. So
what do you mean it's too easy? You mean it's very easy, and so what's the catch? Something's wrong. It's too easy.
You know, just being able to grab proteins. If I'm on the go, like I go to Black's, like I did last night.
Yeah.
And I buy 12 links of sausage, and I have dinner and lunch. I have my first meal ready already today, because I bought extra sausage and a small bit of brisket. So I'm already ready for my first meal of the day, and it's easy.
I am so jealous of you guys. When you go to Austin, Texas, go to Black. That is the name of the restaurant that I adore. I see Amber, Lone Star Keto Girl, is on here. We went there the last time, didn't we, Amber? And so, yeah, it's so good. And like, yes, it is easy, but like, that's the allure of it. Right now, I'm in the midst of my own little journey that I'm doing for 100 days to kind of really kickstart my body composition change and things like that. And yeah, I mean, the simplicity of when I do eat, it's eating for fuel. Yes, it tastes good. Yes, I enjoy it, but it's not this, well, let me make this 3-course dinner and no, I'm not about that. I just have the food. Like, for example, I got back from my walk earlier today, and I made some backyard chicken eggs. I cooked up like 8 of them in a pan with some grass-fed butter. I put some cream cheese in there and a little bit of mozzarella cheese. And it was just this beautiful kind of omelet type thing that I like to eat. And I ate that, and I'll probably be good until this afternoon. I'll have another meal, and that's it. Like, it's not hard when you kind of eat this way. But the world looks at it weird. They're like, oh, that's so unhealthy. Look at all that fat and cholesterol. And they don't understand it's what the body wants. Amino acids, those fatty acids, that's what's fueling me. It's why I'm energetic on camera, because I'm fed well.
And I'm jealous that you have fresh eggs. So yes, I agree. You know, since March, well, you know, just to add something in, I finally hired a keto coach, because I couldn't unravel everything in my brain. So I needed to do that. I had to. There was no way around it. So
right. Who did you hire?
Keto Mary. Mm-hmm.
Yes. You're a girl after my own heart. I love Mary so much. And she's a badass woman. I mean, she's been through her own journey. And yeah, so you've got a great coach.
I chose her for a number of reasons. Also because she was working out and stuff. I wanted to make sure that I chose someone who fit some of the things that I was looking for. Not only was she keto carnivore, but she also works out a lot too. And I knew, you know, I started working out during the pandemic, but I wasn't eating the way that I should have been eating. And I was working out like, you know, 4 or 5 days a week, sometimes 6. with little to no body change. And then once, you know, Mary and I started working together, things started to get better fairly quickly. I just needed to sort all that stuff out in my head. It was crazy.
Real Good Foods is one of the fastest growing frozen food companies in the U.S. Everything they make is nutrient dense, high in protein, low in carbs, and made from real food ingredients. Instead of using processed flours, everything they make is 100% grain-free and gluten-free, which is how they keep their carbs so low. They can be found at Costco, Walmart, Target, Kroger, and in almost every grocery store nationwide. Or you can order online. Check us out today at realgoodfoods.com and at Real Good Foods on social media.
What was the main thing that was holding you back?
Watching too much stuff on Instagram. I mean, I know we have our people that we follow and we watch them all the time, but if it's not working for you and it's not good, you have to get rid of it. You do. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to unfollow them, but I can't watch their stuff so much anymore, because then I go, oh, I need this and I need that and I need to eat this and I need to eat that and I need to try this. And I got to tell my followers about this.
Oh, I mute a lot of people. And it's not to be ugly towards them. Many of them are friends, but you're right. You get paralysis by overanalysis, hearing so much stuff. And people often will come to me because I'm the longtime guy in the community and I wrote this little book a million years ago now, but they'll be like, I read Keto Clarity and I'm seeing all these people talk about, I need this much MCT oil, this much honey. Now people are adding like back in fruit, but only on the weekends of an odd day and it's just, oh my God, like what? Like, it's just so convoluted. The diet is the diet. Don't make it hard.
Mm-hmm. So there was that. And then obviously just working through some mental and emotional stuff around eating, you know, like it's always a celebratory thing, right? Or it's a sad thing. Like, we're happy, let's go eat, or we're happy, let's go drink. If we're sad, let's go eat, let's go drink, those kind of things, you know? Yeah. And it just, so I had to work on that. And then knowing that the food that I'm eating is fuel for my body, just like you said earlier, it's not for entertainment. My entertainment has to become something else. And so that was a hard one.
Well, and recognizing all of that, Denise, this is something I'm proud of you, by the way, and you've got a great coach that's got you on the right mindset now. I'm not surprised. I love Mary Roberts to death. Go hire her, you guys, Keto Mary. But yeah, I'm proud of you, because that takes a lot to kind of challenge those old paradigms of when you feel bad, you eat. When you feel good, you eat. And look, it was like ingrained in us very early in life. Oh, you were a good little girl. Here, have a cookie. Oh, you got great report card. Here, you know, this will make you feel better. Let's go out to dinner and let you have whatever crappy garbage you want. Oh, you hurt yourself. Oh, here you go. And it's like we were trained to soothe with food. So as adults, why would we do anything different? That's what's hardwired in our brains.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You know, I've gone out to eat with my mom a couple times and it's fine. She can eat whatever she wants for the time being. And we were eating, like steak, shrimp and ribs and stuff like that. And the shrimp came to the table and they were breaded, you know, and I was like, oh, I forgot to ask if they were breaded or not, because I was really trying to order some stuff for my mom, and it wound up being breaded, and it comes to the table and my mom's like, oh, you can have just one. And I'm like, no, Mom, I can't have one. And this was still a little early on. And I was like, I had all those emotions. I'm like, oh, I feel left out. And you know, maybe I can just have one. And no, you can't have just one, because it doesn't work that way. Just, you can have all the other stuff, but you can't have the shrimp because it's breaded. So, and she just didn't understand that.
Well,
you know?
and that's, yeah, I know why we have that mentality of, oh, it's okay, just have the one. Because we've been taught our whole lives that everything about our weight and our health is predicated on a calorie hypothesis of counting calories. And so, oh, that little bit of breading is just a little bit extra calories. So just eat a little less calories than something else that you eat, and bada bing, bada boom, it's all gone. And this is why I've hated the calorie hypothesis forever. You have to look at hormones, and that little bit of breading, yeah, a little bit. But if you were wearing a CGM, a continuous glucose monitor, and you had that, okay, maybe it wouldn't go up greatly, but it would go up a whole hell of a lot more than if it was just boiled shrimp. And so you have to be cognizant of that. And let me say one more thing, because you said I can't have that breaded shrimp. You could. You're choosing not to. And I think the messages we tell ourselves, Denise, are so important. When people say, well, I know you can't have it. No, I can have any food I want. It doesn't matter. I choose not to because I have higher goals in mind for my weight and my health, but I can have any food I want. I better.
Yep, that's true. That's true. You know, since I've started with Mary in March, I was having some insulin issues, but of course I was eating whatever during the pandemic. You know, my dad got a cancer diagnosis, which I don't talk about because that's his personal private business, but you know, he's decided not to do any treatments or anything. And that was a difficult pill to swallow. And so I swallowed a whole bunch of donuts on top of that. But needless to say, since I've been back on, you know, eating this way since March, I've also gotten into fasting, which if you would have asked me 2 years ago, will you fast? I'd be like, no, my food is planned. It's packed in my lunch bag. It's going to work with me. You want me to do what? Yeah. No. So
trust me, I know all about thinking fasting was the other F word. That, in fact, in my book, The Complete Guide to Fasting, we talked about it's the other F word. No, it's not the other F word. But like, yeah, I thought the same thing. Stupidest thing in the world. Why would you starve yourself? That was the image I had in my head until I started looking into it and interviewing people about it. And I was like, okay, so there's some here. And yeah, fasting can become so part of your life. In fact, my current protocol, every other day, I do a 24-hour fast. So I just ended my fast today. It was like 24, almost 25 hours by the time I ended it. And then whatever my meal tomorrow ends will be the beginning of the next 24-hour fast. And it's powerful. And yet, yeah, you ask most people, oh yeah, I'm fasting today. They're like, what?
Especially because I work in catering and they're like, do you want to go take your break and eat? And I'm like, I'm fasting. And they just kind of like, look like, what do you mean you're fasting? And I'm like, for 48 hours. And they go, okay. And I said, but I still want to take my break. I'd like to go sit down for 10 or 15 minutes, which is always a mistake because standing on your feet all day and sitting down for 10 or 15 minutes doesn't really work. But, you know, you got to take a break. Yes. And I don't eat. You know, I'm not eating. I've done it a couple times now, and it works out perfectly.
What do you do when you're fasting? Just salt and water, or do you do other things?
I do typically I'll do 1 coffee and I'll measure my 1 tablespoon of cream because I'm not giving up coffee. That's where I'm at right now. Right. And otherwise I'll carry a bunch of Redmond sea salt with me. I've got the little bottles and I'll salt up before I go to work because you need to be ahead of the game because I work outside. Yeah, exactly. That's what I do.
Yes. That's cool.
And I carry a big gallon of water with me and then typically my cup with ice in it to get started. That's awesome.
Relight. Do you do any of the relight? Like I still do Element even on the days that I'm fasting.
I haven't done that yet. Now, in the beginning, I did some fat fast because I wasn't ready to like not have anything. So I did a little bit of butter and then I still had my coffee with cream in it because I realized that before I started measuring my cream, I was probably doing 3/4 of a cup to a cup of cream a day in my coffee. Wow. So I've got that down to about 6 tablespoons on most days if I'm having a heavy coffee day. 9 tablespoons. So
6 coming soon. 6, yes.
Yes, coming soon. 6 tablespoons. I'm not doing any of the electrolytes with stevia in it because, you know, I do have the insulin resistant stuff going on. When I was pregnant, I had borderline gestational diabetes too. So I've got some of that stuff that set in really early for me at age 19.
Yeah. So you're concerned about it being detrimental during a fast?
Yes.
I suppose that's true. I know Dr. Fung and I talked about staying away from the sweeteners because it can stoke hunger and insulin response in some people, not everybody, but in some people. So you mentioned insulin resistance. Do you have specific markers that kind of indicate you have that, or is it just assumed?
I did a test. I've only done 1 test so far. I'm going to do another one with any lab test now. And I think it it was right on the border, you know, on that first bit of numbers that they say, oh, like you're over where you're supposed to be. I think it was 5.7 or something like that.
What number? Which number?
A1C, sorry, A1C.
Yeah. So if you got 5.7 A1C, it should be under 5.5 and optimally under 5.0. I think my most recent one was 5.1. So yeah, 5.7 is a little bit higher. Are there other things? Was there an elevation in your fasting insulin? Do you remember?
Yes, I believe so. Early on, I couldn't get anything lower than somewhere between 90 and 100 during the day at all. And it's been that way for a long time. 90 and 100 is your blood sugar. How about, sorry.
You freaked me out because I thought you said 90 to 100 insulin. I was like, whoa, you know your insulin, I was asking.
That would be a no then. Nope.
Okay, no worries. It's probably in the double digits. Mine has been as high as like 16, and it's supposed to be definitely under 10 and optimally under 5. So yours is probably in that teen to 20 range probably. But your blood sugar, you said 90. You freaked me out when you said 90 insulin. I was like, damn, girl, you don't have type 2 diabetes already? So yeah, blood sugar. Morning reading, the 90 to 100?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So I mean, that's not bad, by the way. Anything between 60 and 100 in your blood sugar is really good in a non-eating scenario. And then when you eat food, it shouldn't go up more than maybe 25, 30 points within 1 hour. And then by 2 hours back down to baseline again. That is a good curve that shows your insulin sensitivity. Now, if you have insulin resistance, it could go from, say, 95, you eat whatever you eat, and it goes up to 130. But then by 2 hours, it's only back down to 120. That's the insulin resistance responding to the specific foods that you're eating. So now that you're eating foods that would not have that kind of response, you probably see minimal blood sugar rise after a meal.
That's right. And I've been able to get that down during fasting and all that stuff. So
yeah, fasting is so beautiful. So what's the longest you fasted?
A little over 48 hours. Like
okay.
48 hours.
Look, if you can get into day 2 of a fast, more power to you, because I've done that many a times now, and day 2 it still sucks. But you get through it and everything. Well, good for you. I would challenge you to just try, not today, but at some point, just plan when your life's kind of calm, to plan a 3-day period. Maybe start it on a Friday and end it at the end of Sunday, and then go back to work Monday. That would be kind of interesting to see a full 72-hour fast because of all the benefits that happen from that specific block. It would be a goal for you anyway, Denise.
I'm working toward that. I'm thinking about this weekend because I work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It would be a perfect time for me to do that. So it's definitely on the table.
Just my edification for you, if you decide to do that, is what's today? Wednesday. So if you're going to start Friday, you really should load up in 3 days before you start a longer fast like that. Load up the 3 days leading into it on fat and protein, mostly from animal foods. So you're not blowing by satiety, but you're making sure you're eating plenty on those days that you are eating. So your body is primed to make the ketones to be able to get you through that 72 hours. A lot of people on my journey, they're like, you're fasting every other day. Are you cutting back calories when you're eating? And I'm like, why the hell would I do that? Like, that's stupid. Like, I want to make sure when I'm eating and I'm feasting and I'm fueling my body, I'm fueling it well. And then on the days that I'm fasting, I don't have to worry about having to have a little something to get me through, because the day before I made sure I had plenty of food.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I want to get into kind of where you've fallen off before. Let's prevent that from happening again, Denise. Now, I know in your mind, it's not going to happen ever again, Jimmy. Well, we know famous last words. So what do you think it was that broke you, that made you go back? Now, I realize we all went through a really crazy time the last year and a half. Set that aside for a moment. And we have personal things in our lives that come up. I've had those things. You've had those things. You've articulated. And so those things impact you. But besides the circumstances in life, what do you think it is that draws you away from this thing that you know is helping you and into this kind of world of crappy garbage again that you then have to dig yourself out of?
For me, it's the industry that I work in, and I've been able to settle most of that down. So I think, you know, as long as I stay focused on those foods and knowing that they're not going to serve me any purpose, and if they do, it's only going to be a matter of seconds from the time it touches my lips to the time I swallow that food, whatever it was that I was feeling and thinking about that might have been good, bad, whatever, it's gone.
Yes.
And outside of that, like, I'm working out now a lot and stuff, and
Yeah.
I know that if I eat that stuff, I'm gonna go take a nap. I'm not gonna go work out.
Yes.
Sorry.
Are you tired of playing the mask game? Me too. That's why I wanted to tell you about the Unmask. This is a breathable, completely breathable. It covers, you can't even see that it's breathable, but it's breathable. Whether you're going on a plane, having to go into a store and wearing this thing, playthemaskgame.com is how you can get this mask. They come in all kinds of colors and everything. In fact, right there, you can see right through it what it is, but when you're wearing it, it does not look like it's anything different, but it's breathable, baby. Playthemaskgame.com.
Yeah, you're so inspiring on your a lot of videos is what I'm trying to say, because I've watched a lot of your videos before we did the interview today, and I'm like, you go girl. Like, there's a lot of people that are a lot more fit that don't do half that amount of exercise that you do. It's wonderful, and I try to show that myself, that it just takes commitment and consistency. And like, you've done this now a little while, and you've got a badass coach. Mary's gonna not lead you astray, and so when you've got all these positive momentums behind you, you can't help but succeed. But I want to make sure you stick with it. Like, I think what happens, and just tell me if you've done this, I can admit I've done this, that when things aren't going great, and this is in the past for me, but when things haven't been going great, people go silent. You just stop talking to other people. My mom and my sister are a prime example. Like, I help them with keto. They're, oh, we're all into keto and fasting, help us out. And I'm like, it's on my own family, of course, I'm going to help you. And so I'm telling them about keto, and I'm answering my mom's questions. So I can't have this, and I can't have this, and it's this, and it's this. Yes, mom, yes, mom. And I got it all with her. And then suddenly, ghosted. And I'm going, I know what's happening. I should have called, but I'm like, let's see how long it takes for her to call. 4 months later, Denise, I get a call from my mom. Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. I said, yeah, you went off keto, didn't you? Like, that was the first thing out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like, I know. So I asked her what happened, and she's like, oh no, I just got tired of it. Oh, you got tired of being healthy, mom, because your knee was not hurting anymore. Like, all these little things got better in her health. But then you forget, because you want that momentary joy on the lips, but not the long-term health benefits that you know could come if you just stayed on the straight and narrow.
Yep. Some of the things I think about being a woman and having to go clothes shopping and things like that. I turned over my closet 4 years ago, and I swore I wasn't going to do that again, and I didn't. And it was really painful to look at all that stuff hanging in my closet for 4 years while I tried to figure all this stuff out again, you know. So looking at things like that for women,
yes,
I know it is just as equally difficult for men, but for women, it's really difficult.
Oh, I can imagine as a woman, because there's a lot of vanity with women. And look, let's be honest, there's a lot of vanity with guys too. Like, I want to look good. I'm trying to attract a woman. Like, that's the way of the world. But I've got a closet in there that's got clothes that I can't fit in either. Same kind of thing. And which is why you use that as motivation. Okay, I've been there not that long ago. Let's work at it. So you've been back at this since March of this year. You went off the rails basically a year, from March 2020 till this year. So how has it gone? Have you noticed anything different this time on the journey? You've had the ups and downs, which is what we're talking about here today. Thank you, by the way, for being so open about it. And again, I'm the perfect person to talk to, because I've had my issues as well. But how has it gone so far?
You know, it's been really good. And the thing that you were just talking about, where I've got to figure out how to, like, stay in this time, and that's going to take more work than the work I'm putting in now. That's going to be more work. So being able, you know, to stay with people and talk to them or reach out to them when I'm having a problem, that's going to be really important along this journey. And I'm going to be reaching out to you more. So
better. I would say Mary is a great one. I've got her phone number, and I'm always texting her and other people, Jessica, her cohort in crime, and different ones. So yeah, you've got good support. I feel for people like you, because I think when you've tried and you just hit a roadblock, and people don't understand. They're just like, oh, just eat the diet and get over it and be better already. And they don't understand there's many layers here that contribute to it. Now, mine involved childhood trauma and some other things in my life that I had to deal with. I asked that question earlier. Did you ever deal with anything like that? Any kind of trauma? Any kind of experiences?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's definitely still probably some things that I need to address and get back. I've done counseling in the past, but probably getting back into that at some point and just dealing with the rest of those things that I need to deal with, because I know I was doing a lot of emotional eating when I was off the rails, for sure.
Yes. Like, nobody purposely binge eats. This is what pisses me off. They're just like, oh, you're just a glutton. Okay. I did eat a lot of food, but let's back up. Why did I eat a lot of food? My head was being thrown into walls. I was being punched. I was being verbally abused by a father that was overbearing for 3.5 years in my teenage years. That couldn't have anything to do with it. No, that couldn't have anything to do with it. But it does. And people are like, well, just get over your path. Okay, that's all well and good. And you've seen sought help with your issue. But like, I had a licensed therapist kind of work through a lot of things for me. And it just takes time. And it takes like this mentality of, okay, that was in my past, but it doesn't define me. And it's like, you want to prove all those people wrong that said you can't. Maybe, I don't know what your situation is, so I'm having talked in generalities, but I'm assuming it's something bad that happened to you when you were young. And so that happens to a lot of us. And if we admit those things out loud, that healing starts to begin.
It does. Yeah, but this time being able to like stay in it, that's really where I've got to put the work in. Like I've worked with Mary for about 6 months, and that's as far as I can go at this point. You know, and if I need to pick back up at some point, I'll just get right back in, you know, but working with her. And also I have a personal trainer. So I've had my personal trainer for about 1.5 years now. And like, I've seen my body go through changes that I hadn't seen before, and it's very different than it's ever been. And that's kind of where I want to continue on that path of this not just being about weight loss. Like, yes, of course I want to lose weight, but knowing that my body's going to be healthy and strong through the years I'm in, because I'm over 40. So, you know, just being able to get through all of that.
So what do you think is moving the needle this time where you've struggled maybe in the past? I mean, you've obviously been doing your fitness journey for the last 1.5 years, really tight, working on your journey. And then you cleaned up your diet. Wow, you did your fitness journey through the crappy food that you ate last year. That's interesting. How did your trainer kind of look at that and go, did they ever ask, what are you eating?
Well, she's a bodybuilder, and so she has her way of eating, which is fine, but it doesn't work for everybody. So
okay. But that wasn't my question. Did she ever ask you, wow, you're not changing body composition that much, what are you eating? Did never ask that?
Not at the time. She didn't.
Yeah.
Because she's a different body type, and she can have donuts on leg day, which is fine. But not everyone can eat the same. And so I was falling for that. I let her tell me, yeah, you can have a donut on Friday. Well, that's great, because I just did an hour-long workout with you. So yes, I can have donuts.
So she was sabotaging your efforts, even if you wanted to. So how do you handle that now? Does she know you eat kind of this mostly keto carnivore diet?
She does. Yeah. And she's not the diet person. She's my personal trainer. She's here to guide me.
Oh, I know. But those trainers don't know how to shut the fuck up about your diet. Because I remember I hired one down at this gym down the road here. I had been keto for a long time at that point, and I was just trying to get stronger. And so this guy, first thing he says, "Yeah, bro, what are you eating?" I was like, "Keto." He's like, "Gotta get off of that nonsense diet. You need to eat lots of carbs. You're going to bulk up." I'm like, oh. But it's like they're so stuck in that, and they can't help themselves telling you how you're supposed to eat if you want to muscle up. Now, I understand the science behind getting that insulin spike post-workout to help the muscle grow. I know all the things. But it's like he was treating me as if I was stupid for eating the way I was eating. So maybe at some point, if you like this trainer and she's doing you a good job, you know, keep her. But maybe at some point she becomes more harm than good. Could be worth getting somebody that might be a little more on board with your way of eating.
Yeah, I like her enough that, you know, whether she sees this or not, that I may try to just educate her more so that she can also expand what she's doing, you know, as far as her training, and that she's able to work with people who have different eating styles, because I don't think that was her intention, obviously, but I never communicated to her like, hey, I really can't have this stuff, you know, and here's why I can't have this stuff. I didn't do my part to communicate that to her until much later when I started working with Mary and started talking a little bit about being insulin resistant and, you know, staying big and round in my midsection. That's where I was really struggling. And that's when I knew, like, I have a large amount of my weight, you know, from like shoulder area down to my hips. Yes. That's where I'm carrying all my weight, you know. So I think I'd rather educate her and get her moving along in her journey too, to know that, you know, when someone comes in and they tell you they're eating a certain way, you don't want to encourage them to have donuts. I'm like, Dave.
Have you experienced the dreaded keto flu? Did you know that most of these symptoms are actually due to your body dumping excess electrolytes? This is where Element comes in. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing you don't. That means lots of salt with no sugar. Element is formulated to help anyone with their electrolyte needs and is perfectly suited to folks following a keto, low-carb, or paleo diet. Element contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, with none of the junk, no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, no BS. Everyone needs electrolytes, especially those on low-carb diets, or if you practice intermittent or extended fasting, if you're physically active, or sweat a lot. Add Element today and see how much better you feel and perform. Use the URL drinklmnt.com/Jimmy.
Yeah, good luck helping someone who is a bodybuild trainer, telling them anything about health in any way. At least that's been my experience. So
I did
end up hiring somebody at that gym, and he was cool. He never said anything about diet. He saw the way I reacted to and he taught me some good moves, and I still do those today. So it's like, you know, they are good. They're very trained. I just wish they'd keep their mouth shut about diet.
Now, the other day I was talking to her about butter, and she asked me to send her a video about butter, and I had 2 of them pulled up, and I have not done that yet. But, you know, I grew up eating country crock, and it's funny because we were talking about that, and I was like, please tell me that you did not have, I believe it's not butter in your refrigerator. You know why it's called that? Because it's not butter.
Well, look, not butter, and then country crock. See, all along they told us this shit was a crock. Like, we just should have believed them.
So she's definitely interested, and I was like, just get you a real thing of butter. Like, start there. Just get you butter, and it has 1 ingredient in it. It says cream on it, and it might have 2, and then it says sea salt or something, but nothing else.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that a lot of these things that people turn to that are healthier, there are a shitload more like ingredients in them. Like, look at all the fake meat burgers and things that are out there, like 29, 30 something ingredients in them. And then you look at like ground beef, it's beef. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. It's beef. And it's like, I thought the one ingredient was better, the mile long ingredient, but not in this case. Yeah, it's so confusing.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I would even get in trouble with like prepackaged stuff that was supposed to be keto. And I'm like, I don't want to read labels. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this since Atkins, really. But then I'd pick something up. I go, I can have this because so-and-so's eating this. I get home and I look at it and I go, wow, I'm really disappointed, but I think I'm going to have this anyway. and I would still eat it, you know?
So Denise, you've been at this a little while, starting with the Atkins diet, dibble-dabbling in keto, and now experimenting with carnivore. What do you think you've learned along the way that's going to make this sustainable for you moving forward?
What have I learned? I've got a good solid foundation now, I feel like, between knowing how I feel when I eat, because initially when I started carnivore, I didn't want to give up onions and garlic. Those were my two go-to vegetables that I needed all the time and everything. And I still weighed them out, but I had them almost every single day. So having a good solid foundation, knowing like how I feel when I eat this versus that's really important. Working out.
Keep talking. I can still hear you. I just can't.
Okay. And knowing that I have people to call on, I think that's going to be one of the bigger things for me is when I need somebody, because I'm here to give back to this community and share my journey, because I know I'm not the only one experiencing the things that I've experienced. Knowing the people that I can reach out to, that's going to be important. Building, relationships with people and being honest.
Look, I think honest, even like to a fault. It's something I've tried to do in my own work, because it's like, it does no good to hide what's happening. Why don't you show what is happening? And then you're going to get more respect from people that go, well, damn, good. Finally, I'm not alone. I'm also dealing with that thing. I am doing everything right. And I'm not seeing scale weight move. I'm not seeing muscle build. I'm not seeing this. I'm not seeing that. Like it's so relatable to people, which is why I wanted you on here today, by the way, Denise. Is I knew you would be relatable, that people would love seeing you and hearing your story, because they're going to see themselves through you. So thank you again for being brave enough to share, because I know it isn't easy.
Yeah, when we first came on and you said, you reached out to me and I said no, because I was in the throes of my, food addiction. Let's call it what it is, food addiction. And I was dealing with a recent, my dad's recent cancer diagnosis, and that I just was like, I'm not in a place to be honest right now. And that was hard for me to say no, and I kind of mentioned that to you in that message. I was just like, I'm just not in a good place right now. And I felt like I needed to get to the other side of that so I could come back.
Yes, I remember I had a similar thing the year that my brother Kevin died. So that was 2008. He had a series of heart attacks about a decade before that, and nearly killed him at 32 years old. And then here he was in and out of hospitals, defibrillator, getting bigger. And in the meantime, I went on the Atkins diet, lost 180 pounds. On me, little bro, how'd you do that? And so I told him about low carb, and he did it for a bit, started feeling better, but then missed the bread, missed everything, went right back to it again. And then eventually he died at the age of 41. And at the end, when he died, it was October of 2008. That shook me hard. Like, he's my only full-blooded brother. And so you have things that come up in your life, and people are like, well, you just grieve and you move on. Okay, you might have these things happen, but a lot of us, like me and Denise, like, life hits and hits hard. It's going to hit you hard. And I have this theory, Denise, that when you have insulin resistance, these things hit you even harder. Like, it makes it even harder to deal with stress. When you're insulin resistant, it makes your stress all the bigger for you, which means it drives those cravings. It drives you to want to go back to your old way of eating, and it doesn't make you want to be motivated at all to do healthy things. And so it sounds like the same thing happened to you with your father last year.
Mm-hmm. It did. But now I just do, I eat twice a day, and I don't think about food in between. And, for celebratory stuff, I figure out other ways to entertain myself,
What do you do?
Go shopping for perfume or a new pair of tennis shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The go broke diet. We'll call that the next best. Go broke diet. Don't eat. Go shopping.
Exactly, because normally it's like, when my significant other would have a day off, we would be like, so where do we want to go eat today? And it's like, and then I looked at him the first couple of times and I'm like, we can't go eat. What are we going to do? And so, go window shopping or something. You don't even have to buy anything. Like, I enjoy window shopping. I don't necessarily have to spend money. I can go out and maybe I am looking for something and maybe I'm not going to find it that day, but I can go out and go window shopping, So
you have these habits that you develop, and going out to eat was your habit. But yeah, you can redirect those habits into things. I know lots of couples that live in an area where they can go hiking together, so they do that, or just do something fun together, or even by yourself. If you don't have a significant other, you could just go and just do something for yourself, non-food related. It's a lot harder for people that are single, I think, to want to do those non-food things, because nobody can see you. You can have whatever you want. Nobody would know. You would know, God would know, but nobody else would know. So it's a little harder. But if you've got accountability people like your significant other, they kind of keep you on the straight and narrow.
I don't know about that. Well, I mean, mine doesn't, because mine will fall for anything. I'll say, hey, let's go eat. And he'll say, okay, where are we
going? In theory, let's just put
So I've really had to take the reins on that for myself and just go, we got to do something else today. We can't go eat. So
yeah. And look, if he or she in people's lives don't respect that, then you need to support your peoples.
It goes pretty well. It's funny because he'll fast a little bit, and as long as you don't talk about fasting, he'll fast. But as soon as I mention, hey, I'm doing a 48-hour fast this weekend, can you just not? Yes, he freaks out, and I'm just like, what in the world? What is this? Like, you're so good at this. I could use your support right now.
Because fasting is an F word. That's why. Fast and they hear the other F word. And yeah, seriously, I never tell anybody I'm fasting anymore unless they're into it and they want to know But out in the real world, you say anything about fasting, oh, do we need to check you into an eating disorder clinic? They don't understand. So, well, Denise, I am super duper proud of you. I think you are a shining example of what's normal. I think there are a lot more people like you that heard your story here today that will relate to what you say and the ups and downs. And I'm very glad that you weren't in a good place before, but you are now where you wanted to talk about this. And believe me, that shame weighs heavier than any weight on your body. Mm-hmm. I know, I've been a very public figure for a very long time, and the judgment is a lot, and it weighs heavier on me than the actual weight on my body. But being able to get it out there, share, and help other people, that's what you did here today. So be proud of what you did. Be proud of what you're doing right now, and just keep up the good work. And yeah, girl, you got an accountability partner. Please reach out to me anytime you need me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm glad I could share my story. This is just the beginning of the next part of my life and staying in it, So, yeah. And I want to be that person for other people too. I want, if anyone needs to reach out to me as well, don't be afraid to send me a message and reach out to me.
So that's keep.austin.keto over on Instagram if you want to follow Denise Davis. But Denise, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Get inspiration from the Living La Vida Low Carb Show. Hey, the livinglowcarbshow.com.
Woo! Keto can be hard. Tabulating, measuring, baking, taking 3 months to perfect one recipe, and to mixed reviews.
Did something die in here? Oh, I think it moved.
And by that point, you give up your diet, find a dark corner, and stuff yourself with sugar, carbs, and regret.
This, isn't what it looks like.
Well, this is where Keto Chow saves the day. The easiest, tastiest, ketoist meal replacement on the market.
It's like ice cream melted in my mouth.
Yes, but melted ice cream with all the protein, nutrients, vitamins, and electrolytes your body needs.
Oh, that's cool.
And with 3 starter kits, each with restaurant tips, keto food guides, and a ton of flavors to try, your taste buds and your waistline will thank you.
Thank you.
So grab your starter kit today at jimmylovesketochow.com.
It's so easy.
Keto Chow. Make keto easy.